Hello there, this is Dr. Samurai, a professor in Japan specializing in international social pathology. And this is my credential, okay, as a college professor, okay. Today's topic of my minute lecture is Mr. Richard Reid. Richard Reid, okay. I'm not sure whether you are familiar with this name or not, but this will be very instructive minute lesson. So let's start with today's thug profile number 29. Mr. Richard Reid was, trying to bomb American Air 63 from Paris to Miami by lighting a plastic explosive in the plane. But passengers around him noticed this weird smell, and they kind of jumped on him to stop what he was trying to do. And American Air number 63 changed its route to land on Boston Logan Airport, and Mr. Richard Reid was arrested, and now he is called a shoe bomber, okay? And because of the severity of what he was planning to do, he's now at Florence ADX in Colorado. 3 life sentences plus 110 years. Okay, let's talk about a little bit more detail. In 1973, he was born in England under a father who was making ends meet by committing petty crimes. And Mr. Reid also followed his father's path and repeated the petty crimes again and again. However, in time, he gradually became radicalized in his thinking. He was specially trained as an al-Qaeda member in Pakistan and Afghanistan. His mother was a 100% English person, and his father inherited partly a blood of a Jamaican. When Mr. Richard was born, his father was in prison for grand auto theft. So you know what kind of life he was going through. And Richard became a member of a gang group for writing graffitis. He was arrested and spent like 3 years in prison. And during that 3 years, he converted to Islam. Of course, because before that 3 years, he has done so many petty crimes. After his release, he started to frequent the mosque in the north part of London. There he was taught many things by some major figure in Islamic radicals who tried to explode the American embassy in Paris, which fortunately didn't go through. By obtaining another passport at British embassy in some other country, he traveled around the world speaking Pashto. He went over to Afghanistan with one other person, and there he received the plastic bomb which was put into the sole of shoes, okay? And with that, he was planning to get on a plane that is going to fly from Paris to Miami, okay? However, at the airport, he was somehow judged suspicious and was forced to buy another ticket for the plane that takes off the next day. So, on the very next day, he boarded the plane wearing a suit filled with the C4, the plastic bomb. And as I have mentioned, he tried to light a fire on a fuse that is attached to his shoe bomb, pretending like he was going to smoke, but he was instructed against doing it because of the unfortunate rain, and also probably due to his tension, he was too sweaty, so that made it very difficult for fuse to get lit, get the fire. By the time people sitting around him recognized what he was going to do, so they jumped on him, and the plane did the emergency landing on Logan Airport in Boston. Okay, although Mr. Reid kept saying it was his individual, act, but it was clear that it is not the act conducted by one individual, seeing all those preparations for bomb and plot and so on. It is also said that on 9/11 he was planning to hijack another plane to attack somewhere else, but he actually did not, as you know it. Okay, at this moment at Florence Supermax prison, he is on a hunger strike against receiving or seeing people who are not the member of the same group as he belongs to. That's pretty much the general information of what he tried to do and what he is. And I would like to tell you what I know about him personally. Okay, let me sip my tea a little bit. I would like to translate one impressive letter from him for you. Okay, today I received a letter titled Japanese Spirit, and Florence prison does not tell us who sent it to me, so I thought it must be probably you. Thank you very much for sending it. And listen to this very carefully, okay? The other day, I watched news that Japan openly cooperate with the United States against Islamic State. This means Japan became one of the targeted countries for Islamic State. In the future, if there is a chance for you to do that, I would suggest you talk to them, especially public safety officials, to remove that position. That is my cordial advice. And then I would like to answer your second question of why we are so ready to throw away our lives for our causes. The answer is simple. Our life is all about the teachings of Islam. And according to that, to die is just to enter our final world. And the reason why we were born in this world is to understand the God's intention and realize what He would like us to realize. So, in short, our lives are to serve for Allah and nothing else. And what we do in this world will decide what we will receive in our final world. So, in that sense, this life is just a passing point, which is just one moment. So, even if you have severe suffering or you have great pleasure, it passes, just a moment. Okay? All we should pay attention to is we should do things so that we could be together with the same people with the same pure heart, so that in the future eternal life we can be very happy with each other. To me, America seems to change their stance depending on their interest at that time. So, who is their friend and who is their enemy change all the time depending on their interest at the time. Sometimes they back up Sunni, while other times they back up Shia and stuff like that. And please listen to this. IS is acting only in Iraq. That has nothing to do with America, so far away from Iraq. I think I should stop my letter around here this time. I hope that when this letter reaches you, your life is the happy one. Abdul Rahim, which is his converted name. I was kind of appreciative to his advice, to his consideration that about my country's safety, because he gave me some advice. If there's a chance to talk to public safety officer, please talk about this and that and stuff. Not for his own interests, but thinking about our safety. I appreciate his pure soul for that. And that said, I have some experiences with so-called terrorists so far. All of them are incarcerated, though. That's the point I would like to say. All I'm doing is legal. Contacting them is legally allowed. And I'll tell you, only very shrewd prison gang leaders who is still active. Some of the heads of the Mexican cartel, those very limited people we are not allowed to contact. But Islamic or other types of terrorists we are allowed to contact. So I am using this precious opportunity to learn what would be the best for the whole world. Okay, I'm contacting only those who are incarcerated, period. I just wanted to say some of the things that I learned from my previous experiences. Those who go for terrorism were mostly born in Western countries. But they still look Islam. That's one thing. Second thing is their parents put heavier pressure on their kids to be successful in their new country, in their new Western country. So kids were kind of loaded with the heavy duty from their parents. That was number 2. Number 3, because of this parental pressure, they chose not to stay at home, stay outside with the youngsters who have the similar backgrounds, like Islamic looking but born in Western countries. They can share the same feelings, the pressures from parents and also the discrimination socially. Okay? And number 4, is although they were born in Western countries like England or America, and English is the only language they can speak, they were still not accepted as an American, but as if they were some outsiders. That's what they feel. And number five, they resort to petty crimes and drugs, partly to make money, and partly to release their frustrations. And because of that, they are targeted by police, and the space, the social space they can relax is getting smaller and smaller because of those drug use and petty crimes, because they are marked by police. And among all these negativities, IS promised to provide vengeance on all the pains those kids experienced, and promised to take them to heaven. So, in short, what IS, Islamic State, does to youngsters is, though those youngsters tried their very best to be successful in the new Western countries, they are still thought of as being Muslim, not American, although they are born in America. And the only thing that give them the narrow path of living with honor and pride is Islamic State. That's what it is. I am not promoting this, okay? But I am telling you this because this is how those Islamic youngsters are feeling in the Western countries. They were mostly born in Western countries, but they were not treated as one. And IS is the only one that accepts them as they naturally are and even give them a hope. And that's why those youngsters are willing to throw away their lives. There's gotta be some mechanisms, dynamics that make what happens happen. And this is what is working behind, okay? And there's one more thing I noticed commonly among those youngsters into Islamic teachings deeply, which is you don't have to think about anything. Just follow what Islam teaches. Just follow the teachings of Islam. And you don't have to think about anything on your own. Just follow them. It is like they are some empty bucket or something. And that reminded me of those neglected kids who go for mass murders by being backed up by white philosophies or some fundamental religious teachings. There is this emptiness both in those young kids who go for terrorism and those who go for mass murder. Only difference is which teachings they happen to be close to, okay? And that hollowness was filled with either Islamic teachings or white supremacist, teachings or religious fundamentalisms, That means they were neglected, especially between 0 to 4 years old. Both of them, the mass murderers and Islamic terrorists. They must have missed warm skin contacts and communications based on unconditional love, especially during the critical period. I repeat, both Islamic terrorists and mass murderers share this horrorness that missed physical contacts and communication with love during their critical period of 0 to 4 years old. I am positive they were neglected, and that's why Islamic teachings were placed perfectly into that emptiness. Both of them were like empty bucket, nothing. There was this big hole on their heart, and it was filled with either Islamic teachings or some radical ideas or religions. And why those Muslim youngsters tend to have such hollowness during the critical period? This is my analysis, but probably in Islamic culture, teachings of Islam is more important and is more emphasized than natural, emotional, warm communications. Islamic teachings, which comes from somewhere else, is more important than natural caring about each other. And probably because parents put way more pressure to be successful than love, which they really need, because they want them to be successful in the Western countries. Their parents barely came over. There's too much pressure for success is killing the love relationship between parents and children. So probably those two things, Islamic teaching is more important, success is more important. Those two create this hollowness, and that hollowness is filled with Islamic teachings, unfortunately. That's why they all say, you don't have to worry about it. You just follow what the teaching says. It's easy. They all said that to me, those incarcerated. And I thought it very weird, but it must be because they all share this emptiness in mind. And I tell you again, okay, where the plus does not fill in, always some minus fills in instead. So as human beings, you cannot avoid this loving relationship, especially during the critical period. This kind of study is, I think, highly needed in today's society, in today's world, in which so many countries are confronting against each other. We have to do something. But what they do is they are not even allowed us to contact them and learn from them. And I think that is academically wrong. It's killing our academic freedom. And the best proof is I am feeding back what I have learned from them to society, as I am doing now. So I would like those people in power to think about this situation so that we could contact more freely to learn what they have to say, to make the world safer place for future kids. And I would like to wrap this up very quick. I am not saying we should back up Islamic State. They are doing something terrible, to be honest. All I'm saying is to make the world and society more peaceful. So, I talked about Mr. Richard Reid, and I would like you to understand most of them are pushed into the corner where they cannot run away from. They are forced to go either this way or that way. And I don't think that is the right situation, you know. If we are doing things based on the truth, not for our interests, I don't think this kind of situation is created, to be honest. So I think now is the time we should start thinking not about profits and benefits and interest, but also the truth and happiness and peace and respect for everybody globally, not regionally. Sorry for having spoken too long, but I would like to finish my minute lecture around here this time. Until next time, please have a wonderful time. Okay? Bye-bye.